Hi FOM 10 students, this is an answer key for the linear functions lesson 4 homework. And it looks like this. Number 1 says the equations of 6 lines are given below. Which equations represent lines with the same slope? What is that slope? Okay, and so notice that they all have y by themselves. Y equals mx plus b. When we have that form, this is the slope, the number in front of the x. So which ones have the same number in front of the x? I see a -1 here and a -1 here. All the other ones are different. So which equation represents lines with the same slopes? Equation 3 and 6. And what is that slope? It's that negative sign, which is a secret -1. Okay, and I'm just going to pause here for a second. Okay, and letter B says which equations represent lines with the same y-intercept, and what is that y-intercept? So the y-intercept is the plus b here on the end. It can be positive or negative. So which ones have the same plus b? Looks like we've got a +4 and a +4. So equation 1 and 4. And I don't think there's any others. This is a -1, a +5, a -3, and a -4. Okay, so it's just 1 and 4. And what is that y-intercept? That b is equal to +4. Okay, and up here, excuse me, this was m, the slope, equals -1. Okay, so there's number 1. And I'm just confirming with the answer key. Things look good with that. Okay, number 2. Determine the slope and y-intercept of each line without graphing. Then sketch the line. And notice that y is by itself for all of them. Y equals mx plus b. So the slope for this one is -4. The y-intercept is -5. The slope here is 2/3. The y-intercept is 4. And letter C is written the other way around, right? It's got 3 minus a half x. So the number in front of the x is the slope. You have to include the sign, so it's -1/2. And the y-intercept is that +3. Okay. And then it wants us to sketch the line. All right, so A I will do in blue. The y-intercept is -5 right here, and the slope is -4, which is secretly -4/1. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4 down, and 1 to the right. And notice back the other way, it's up 4 and 1 left. So I would go 1, 2, 3, 4 up, 1 left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 left. And that maps out the line for us. And that doesn't look very good. Let me fix this. Did I do this wrong? Oh, yeah, I did. Okay. I put a dot here a little bit too high. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we are good. There's line A. Okay, let's do B in green. The y-intercept is 4, so up here, and then we have a 2/3 slope, so that's up 2, 3 to the right, up 2, 3 to the right. And back the other way is down 2, 1, 2, 3 left. Down 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's letter B. And letter C we will do in red. The y-intercept is at 3, slope is negative 1 over 2, so that's down 1, 2 to the right, down 1, 2 to the right. Maps the line out that way, and going back the other way is up 1, 2 left. Up 1, 2 left, up 1, 2 left. And that is letter C. Okay, number 3, for the line y equals 2x plus 1, what is the slope? Y equals mx plus b. When y is by itself, we have mx plus b. The slope is this guy. Find the x and y intercepts. The y-intercept is that, which is 1, or you could write it as 0, 1. To get the x-intercepts, let y equal 0. So I would put 0 in for y and solve this 2x plus 1 equation. So which means that 2x would equal negative 1, divide both sides by 2, x equals negative a half. There's the x-intercept. Okay, so as a point, it would be negative a half, comma, 0. And then part C says use the x and y intercepts you found in part B to calculate the slope of the line. So the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I would go y2 minus y1, 1 minus 0, over x2 minus x1, 0 minus a half, minus negative a half. And so we have 1 on top, and add the opposite, 0 plus a half. And 1 divided by a half is 2. And what did you notice about your answers for parts A and C? They are the same. Explain. Because they are both the slope. Because they are both the slope of the line. Okay, so we've got 3a as being 2, b we've got negative 0.5 comma 0 for the x-intercept, 0, 1 for the y-intercept, and 3c gives us 2. And then 3d says they are the same. This shows that the slope of the line is the same as the m value. Okay, nice. And I'm going to pause here for a second. All right, everyone, let's move on to number 4. For the equation 2y minus 4x equals 10, express the equation in slope y-intercept form. Slope y-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we just have to get y by itself. I have 2y minus 4x equals 10. So I'm going to add 4x to both sides. And so we end up with 2y equals positive 4x plus 10. And then to get y by itself, you divide both sides by 2. And that means that everything gets divided by 2. So we end up with y is now by itself. 4 divided by 2 is 2 in front of the x. And positive 10 divided by 2 is plus 5. Hey, there's slope-intercept form. What is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is the plus b, the positive 5. Part C says substitute x equals 0 into 2y minus 4x equals 10 and solve for y. Okay, 2y minus 4 times 0 equals 10. And that gives us 2y, that's just going to work out to 0, equals 10. And divide both sides by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, y equals 5. Let me put that a little bit lower. Okay, what do you notice about your answers for parts B and C? They are the same. Okay, because in B, you are just finding the y-intercept in the form y equals mx plus b. This is the y-intercept. And in part C, that's the process that you follow to find a y-intercept. You substitute x equals 0 into an equation to get the y-intercept. Okay, so this is the process for finding a y-intercept from an equation. Okay, you let x equal 0. Okay, this was number 4. In their answer key, they've got the 2x plus 5. They have 0, 5 for the y-intercept. And they've got y equals 5. And indeed, they say they are the same. This shows that the y-intercept of the line is the same as the b value. Yes, great. Number 5, express each equation in slope y-intercept form. State the slope and y-intercept of each line. So we just need to get y by itself in each equation. So add 3x to both sides and we get y equals 3x plus 15. So there's the equation. The slope is positive 3, b, the y-intercept is positive 15. This one here, I'm going to be tricky and I'm just going to add y to both sides. And then we get 2x minus 10 equals y, or we can write it as y equals 2x minus 10. And so the slope is 2, and b, the y-intercept, is negative 10. Okay, this one, let's subtract 4y from both sides. And we will get 3x plus 12 equals negative 4y, and then divide everything by negative 4. And we get negative 3 over 4 times x minus 3 equals y. So the slope is negative 3 over 4, and b, the y-intercept, is negative 3. And this is y equals mx plus b right here. Okay, to get y by itself, just divide both sides by 5. Y is equal to 2 over 5 times x. So the slope is 2 over 5. The y-intercept is the b value, the plus b out here, but there's nothing there, so it's secretly plus 0. So there's the slope and y-intercept. And this one here, let's subtract 5x from both sides. Negative 3y equals negative 5x minus 15. Notice I put the x term first because we have to go y equals mx plus b. Divide both sides by negative 3. And we get y equals 5 over 3 times x, and then plus 5. So the slope is 5 over 3. B, the y-intercept, is 5. And since that's the y-intercept, we could technically write it as a y-intercept like this, 0, 5. 0 for the x and 5 for the y. So I think that's what they do in the answer key. They write it like that. And this one here, let's subtract x from both sides, and you get 3y equals negative x. Divide by 3, divide by 3. And we get y equals negative 1/3 times x. So the slope is negative 1/3. B, the y-intercept, is again this plus 0, which for a y-intercept, the x-coordinate is 0 as well. So it would be like that. And let's check some answers here before we move on. Letter C, they've got the negative 3/4 x minus 3. And then they've got negative 3/4 and minus 3. Letter D looks good. Excuse me. Letter E, everything is looking good. Letter F, we've got y equals negative 1/3 x, so the slope is negative 1/3, b, the y-intercept is 0, 0. Okay, and letter G, let's get y by itself. Negative 6x plus 2, divide by 5, divide by 5, divide by 5. So y is equal to negative 6/5 times x plus 2/5. The slope is negative 6/5, and b, the y-intercept, is 2/5. So as a point, it would be 0, 2/5. All right, things are looking good with that. Let's get on to number 6. Okay, so 6a says graph the following equations. Number 1 is y equals 5, so that means that the y-coordinate is always 5, regardless of what x is. So see how I'm moving along the x values, and I'm staying at a y value of 5. And so y equals 5 gives us a nice horizontal line. So there's number 1. Number 2 I'll do in red. Y equals mx plus b. The slope is 5. The b y-intercept is 0. So it starts here. And a slope of 5 is 5/1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 to the right. And back the other way, it's 5 down, 1 left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 left. There's number 2. Number 3 we'll do in green is x equals 5. And that means that the x-coordinate is always 5, regardless of what y is. So see how I'm staying at an x-coordinate of 5 as the y-coordinates change. And it maps out a vertical line for us. So there's number 3. And number 4, why don't we do number 4 in black? Y equals mx plus b. The m is 1, or 1/1. B, the y-intercept, is the plus 5. So there's my y-intercept, and the slope is 1/1. 1 up, 1 to the right. Or going the other way, 1 down, 1 left. Okay, and that is number 4. And then it says, for each, determine the x and y intercepts, slope, domain, and range. State whether each relation represents a function. Okay, so for y equals 5, X-intercepts, there are none. The y-intercept is up at 5. The domain is all real because the graph moves from left to right forever. The range, the graph does not move up or down from 5, so the range is just 5. And is this a function? Yes. We didn't really get a chance to talk about exactly what makes up a function or not. Okay, but we will review that next year. Y equals 5x, the x-intercept is at 0, the y-intercept is at 0, domain is all real, range is all real, function yes. X equals 5, the x-intercept is at 5, y-intercept none, domain is just that 5, the range is all real. This one's actually not a function. And y equals x plus 5, the x-intercept is at -5, the y-intercept is at +5, domain is all real, range is all real, and yes, this one is a function. Okay, so just checking the answer key. Things look good with number 1 and number 2, and number 3 looks good. Don't see any strangeness happening. And number 4 looks good. Awesome. Now there's a number 7 in the answer key, but there doesn't appear to be a number 7. In here. So I guess we won't worry about number 7. All right. Number 8, match each term with its appropriate value to the right. Each value may be used once, more than once, or not at all. Record your answer in the box provided to the right of the term. Okay, so given the function f of x equals -2x plus 8, that's just a straight line. It just has more fancy notation. It's y equals mx plus b. Find the following characteristics. The y-intercept is the b, the plus b. So the y-intercept is 8, or as a point, 0, 8. So that's D. And what's the x-intercept? How do you get an x-intercept? You let y equal 0. So we would put 0 in for y and solve this little equation for x. -8 equals -2x. So x is equal to -8 over -2, which is 4. As a point, that would be 4, 0, which, so this one is D, and 4, 0 is down there at F. Okay, and 8 for their answer key, they have D and F, so this looks good. And there's the answer key there. All right, so there you go, everybody. Answers for the linear functions lesson 4 homework, and I will talk to you again soon.